You seen the Megyn Kelly interview with Charlie Kirk and Mamdani? Oh, how long is it? 15 minutes. Muslim socialist wins. How is it that you're controlling the thumbnail and he looks so much more human than either of you in this? He looks so nice and you both look so weird.
We got to talk about the fact that New York is becoming a communist Bolshevik town. It's incredible. Yeah. I'm sorry. I've lived in New York State for 50 years and only recently moved to Connecticut and New York City for 17. I can't believe they've done this. How did we go from Giuliani, Bloomberg, cross over de Blasio and Adams to a socialist who now is very likely to win?
Are Democrats paying attention to the pointer that Bloomberg is being mentioned alongside Giuliani as like a positive contrast by Megyn Kelly?
Because anybody who gets the Democratic nomination wins. Now, it's true, some people will organize against him. Some New York business leaders are very scared. Some Jews in New York are very scared that this guy who defended globalized the Intifada recently on a podcast at the Dispatch is their next likely...
Didn't I say I didn't want to watch more of that podcast with Gillibrand? What am I looking at right now?
Mayor, so they could potentially organize now in a way they didn't before the primary to stop him. But if you had to put money on it, you'd have to put it on this guy becoming the next mayor. What does this say about New York and our country? Well, a lot. And I'm going to push the envelope a little bit, Megyn. So you have to give me, and you can push back at any time.
Oh, so please.
I think you're in trouble. I saw you're in trouble with Jessica Tarlov of Fox News on the internet.
Well, yeah, I'm going to say it here on air because I just I don't hide from my opinions. But yes, and you can push back and disagree, and I'll give all the proper caveats, which of course I believe in. But yes, the socialism part is very important. I mean, he has like some of the dumbest ideas.
Okay, I was literally going to make a joke off the thumbnail. They should have bolded it and put in red the Muslim part, not the socialism part, because it's clear what they're talking about here, but he's going to make that argument for me.
Is imaginable, which we're going to have city-run grocery stores. Yeah, that works really well in Cuba. Bring back bread lines, right? Mamdani 2020.
It works pretty well in like Western Europe too.
And obviously he wants to tax the rich. He wants to take more money away from people. All that's super bad. He wants to defund the police. He's on the record saying defund the police. He wants to send social workers instead of cops. But like, we need to also understand, and we have to be very delicate how we talk about this, and I'll give all the proper caveats, right? Not every Muslim is bad. A lot of Muslims are really decent and good people. My primary care doctor is actually Muslim. I've endorsed someone running for office as a Muslim, Zuhdi Jasser here in Arizona. So we all know individually good Muslims. But we also must kind of take pause and say, wait a second. The two financial power centers of the West are obviously London and New York. And are we really going to have two Muslim mayors of the major financial power centers of the West? Like, let's just take a pause and take a step back and like, what does that say and what does that mean? And people say, well, it's irrelevant that he's Muslim. Well, you said it best. He wants to globalize the Intifada. And by the way, that just means global.
Thank you, Senator.
Terrorism. He is the first mayoral candidate of any significance to say that he supports sanctions.
You see, the split that I was talking about with like Nazis are getting what they want, but it all has to be done like waving the Israeli flag is really funny because the big split for me in terms of right-wing thought has always been the Turning Point USA versus Groyper, the Nick Fuentes versus Charlie Kirk split, right? Where Nick Fuentes and Charlie Kirk are both Nazis. Nick Fuentes much more obviously so, but they both agree essentially on everything. The only difference is that Charlie Kirk is concerned with political effectiveness and Nick Fuentes just like, you know, he gets his donations, he runs his live stream, but I think he's kind of like, he would much rather do funny streams with Kanye or like, you know, continue trying to convince people he's not in the closet than actually like run an apparatus of the Republican political machine. And it's funny because we're now arriving at a point where like Charlie Kirk can basically say the same shit as Fuentes, but he still has to do all of these gay liberal disqualifiers. You know what I mean? Like he still has to, it's still waving the Israeli flag. You have to say like, well, I know good Muslims. It's like, we know what you mean, man. It's just kind of funny that like it would circle around like this where even once they've arrived at the same prescriptive positions, the rhetoric Charlie Kirk has to use is still like cloaked in this, well, obviously I'm doing this because I'm so concerned for the well-being and safety of Jews around the world bullshit. And it's like, come on, man. I can't imagine it's very fun. You get what I mean, right?
Of Israel. I want you to understand that. That is America's most Jewish city, New York. And he wants to sanction Israel. and we're not allowed to mention that he's also Muslim. Like, I'm sorry, like that actually matters a lot. And he should be put on the record and ask questions about not just his faith, but also, do you think that it's good that we're continually importing hundreds of thousands of people that don't import our values? And you look at Elon. Oh,
yeah, it'd be a great. You bring that as a question in the mayoral debates being watched over by the overwhelmingly progressive New York City constituency. Hey, so we've talked about fiscal policy. Next question. Mamdani, do you think it's good that we're importing hordes of third worlders to replace our white children? Who wrote this? Like, what are you planning on introducing this one?
Omar, is Elon...
Like, do you see what I mean? He's a white nationalist, but he has to frame it in like a gay limp dick way. Like, somebody really needs to sit him down and make him answer these questions. Dude, you don't want to do that. You want like mass deportations and or mass graves. You want death camps. Like what? But like, you can't say it. Maybe give it 6 more months and like they will be saying it. But well, they're saying the mass deportations part. They're not saying the death camps part, but it's just funny.
Omar, a good example of someone that has pride and patriotism and gratitude for our country. It's not a good track record so far. And from Mamdani, you're seeing someone that has resentment-driven politics, super bad economics, terrible economics. But dare I also say, a radical cultural orthodoxy that is going to be introduced into America's large...
That's another big one. That's another big one for me too, which is that, and this is important to understand, okay? Nazis don't give a shit about capitalism. They only like capitalism as a bludgeon that they can use to elevate the people who are politically useful to them. They like it because it reifies or reifies inequality. They like the inequality. But like, if you said, hey, so in a glorious futuristic white ethno-state, would you have a problem with your glorious white government having subsidies for glorious white businesses? They'd be like, hell yeah, that sounds great, brother. They don't actually care about the economics. The economics is a means to an end. So it is fun, because I guarantee you, like, the average person who would agree with mass deportations and maybe even like building the camps, you know, in America is not a big fan of capitalism because they see it as a global Jewish institution, right? Like, you don't see a lot of capitalism praise in far-right social circles unless they're explicitly doing it to contrast themselves against people with left social or economic positions. And usually when they do that, what they're talking about is the idea of like the government forcing diversity. They don't have an issue with the government forcing ethnic or racial homogeneity, of course. They don't have an issue really with government involvement. They love government involvement. The Nazis were very, very involved in the everyday life of the German citizenry, you know? As Trump's governance is very involved in people's day-to-day life. ICE agents going door to door, you know? The constant revocation of people's civil rights, you know? They're not against government involvement. It's just like it's a means to an end for them.
Largest city, one that will not make it a safe place for Jews, not a safe place increasingly, I think, for Western values and potentially Christians. And to say that you are in favor of boycotting, divesting, and sanctioning Israel in America's most Jewish city, and it's just a coincidence that
right? It's literally id bullshit. And how dare you, Mamdani, in a city with so much Jewish diversity, even suggest that an America, like this is from an America First conservative perspective, that we not give money to Israeli companies. Cocked.
Guy happens to be Muslim. Yeah, I think that's complete rubbish. And final point I'll say is this, is that London is a captured city. I don't know if you've been there recently, Megan, but awful. It is a husk of its former self. It is terrible. And I don't like the fact that I go to Piccadilly Square and I see more Arabic than I see English, that I see more stores that are Yemen, Omani, Saudi Arabian. That is a conquered and a captured country. And Mamdani has to run on his own merits. He's his own individual person.
We need to return to the New York of the 1930s. Where everyone spoke English. It's like, unironically, the racists of today could not survive in the world that they imagine their forefathers built, okay? Leaving aside the fact that, you know, I'm assuming Charlie Kirk's forefathers were like pederasts and incestuous, producing that. But if you imagine they were like industrious, racist white men of New York City 100 years ago, dude, the world, especially New York City, has gotten so much easier if you just only want to interact with American citizens who were born here who speak English. Can you imagine what it must have been like to like work a construction job back in 1929 or something? Do you have any idea how many people there are there who would only speak Polish or Italian or some inscrutable Irish dialect that you genuinely cannot fathom? And everyone's drunk all the time and the trash is everywhere. They have hogs running out to eat all the goddamn trash. Like, just... we have cushioned the world so much for people like this, and it has unironically only made them weaker. I'm actually doing the Joe Rogan, like, weak times create strong men bullshit, okay? The racists back then, what do we get back then? World War II. That's some powerful racism. Nowadays, your frail ass is, like, whining. You don't live in New York City, but when you visit, and it's already, like, so accommodating for people who speak English, and you're acting as though it's fallen, brother, it's more easy to get around as an English speaker than it ever has been, okay?
But he has not given any indication that he is anything but a radical socialist and someone that is trying to continue the Mohammedan march in the West. Individual Muslims can be great members of American society. We all know them. But in the macro, in the big picture, are we really benefiting the more that we are importing Islamists into the West? I say no, and I think we should have a lot of caution.
It's JQing with Muslims. It's like it's JQing with Muslims, but in a like liberal way. He's doing it wokely. Point of personal privilege, you know? I'd like to acknowledge there are many good Muslims in this country, but I personally feel uncomfortable. I experience microaggressions when I hear them talk about globalizing the Intifada. In a city as diverse as New York City, I just think it's inappropriate that we would trigger people by suggesting that we not buy sabra, you know, hummus or whatever. I don't know, dude. It's really funny. This is all like totally void of substance, though. It kind of reinforces my point that the right has no idea what to do with Mamdani, though.
A Muslim socialist, the mayor of America's largest nation of the West. You see it in Rotterdam, you see it in Paris, you see it in London, you see it across Germany, is that the Islamist world does not assimilate well to the Western world. In fact, they create their own pockets of no-go zones. They try to take over city halls.
Decade-old talking point, dude. Ancient, remember that Lauren Southern video of her walking around France and she was like, look, France has fallen. I don't even see people wearing French braids. Of course, now all the people making videos like that run the federal government, so maybe it's not that funny, but you know.
You could see evidence in London and Rotterdam. They try to create own areas of their kind of Sharia type law and radical Islam. I don't know if that's what Mamdani will do, but I know this. It doesn't matter because he is a perfect personification of what we call the red-green axis. The red-green axis is Marxism and Mohammedism that come together.
Holy shit, this is really, really good. I'm glad that Kelly's just letting him cook, you know? The red-green, this is what we call Mohammedist Marxist thought. No, I believe you. Yeah, I bet you. It's a lot of literature on that one.
Together to destroy the West. And he is an agreeable spot for that. There's a lot of Muslims in New York, and there's
Charlie Kirk reinventing the Ba'athist Party. Dude, you're or the Ba'ath Party. You're dude. He's bringing Saddam Husseinism into the West. He's bringing Assadism into the West. It's insane. Oh my God.
There's a lot of, also to your point, white upper East Side middle, you know, higher income earners that have luxury beliefs that want to, whatever reason, see the suicide of New York City. What is shocking is that the richer you are in New York City, the more likely you are to support Mamdani. The poorer you are.
That's not true. Middle class people are most likely to support Mamdani. Uber wealthy people, like really wealthy people. By the way, middle class in New York City is a really broad net, okay? If you make $500,000 a year, I'm gonna call you middle class because there's so much money in New York City. Like, it scales up, okay? If you have $1 billion, you're up there, okay? And you're supporting Cuomo. If you have anything even remotely resembling a working class lifestyle, as in you work and then you use the money from the work to go and like buy treats or whatever, then I'll say you're middle class. The reason poor people supported Cuomo is because generally speaking, they're kind of stupid. We're continuing with our classism arc, by the way. There is a very strong correlation between low income earners and a lack of education.
The more likely you were to support Cuomo. And so
blacks and poor people in New York voted for Cuomo. and Asians and whites voted for Mamdani. It's amazing.
So I think and it's just, the point is this, is that it's...
What is the point, actually, that's being made right now, out of curiosity?
Obvious he hates the West. Where does that come from? I don't know. Now, if his name was Clark Smith, he might have the same sort of radicalism, but I do think that there is a pattern recognition that for whatever reason, people get really mad when you mention, which is like, wait a second, we now have Sadiq Khan, and we have Ilhan Omar, we have Rashida Tlaib, and now Mamdani, and none of these people have nice things to say about Western civilization. And either they or their parents are here on invitation only.
A black person is voting for Cuomo, the majority of them.
To the West. That is the distinction. We have made a conscious decision to bring millions.
It's literally Islamic JQ. No, of course it is. It's the exact arguments that they've made about Jewish Bolshevism in Nazi Germany, just applied to Muslims. The idea that there's a radical leftist ideology that has been heavily sort of infiltrated by religious thought. In their case, it was Judaism. Right now, it's Islamism. And that, we're importing these people, they're destroying the country, blah, 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 blah. It's all the same. I mean, there are a lot of, like, this type of conspiracy is applied very broadly. It's just funny that, like, is he socialist or pro-rich? How is he both? Who are you talking about? Oh, Mamdani? I think that Charlie Kirk was unironically making, like, rich white people be like type argument. You know what I mean? Which, again, overwhelming cultural victory to the left here, that Charlie Kirk has to be a gay pussy liberal when talking about Nazism. Do you think he watches Fuentes shows at the end of the day and he puts his hand up against the monitor and he's like, one day I'll be able to just say shit, but I have to be looser about it for a while.
Of people from the Middle East or Muslims into America. Has that worked? Is it a good thing? Is it improving New York? Has this guy been a shining beacon of assimilation and adopting American values? Or is he an insurgent against New York City to try to...
He's actually been like he's like unironically a avatar of American ideals. Like why would you choose that phrasing? Like he is that. Yeah. He's like walked all up and down the 5 boroughs. Meeting with everyone, great melting pot shit. Like, yeah.
Break it down, make it into a poor version of Gotham. And so I want to make sure everyone in the audience understands. So there are some good Muslims out there, obviously, but as Islam has crept its way into the power centers of the West, it has not materially improved our life. In fact, it's done the exact opposite.
And that's being done intentionally. It's being done intentionally.
That's the point. And that's why I think it's important that I push the envelope a little bit on this.
I understand. So, yeah. I totally get it.
It's MQ stuff. You get it.
Totally get it. This video, I've done years in coverage of these radical jihadis and radical Islamists and who they are. And Ayan has been my best teacher on all of it. I mean, just read any book she's written, read any article she's written. She's lived it firsthand. Okay. But what their goal is not a secret. You actually don't have to spend much time looking at this to know what their goal is. This video is making the rounds on X. It's from 1990, and it's someone speaking on behalf of the Muslim Brotherhood.
35 years ago? Okay.
A woman talking about the goals for infiltration in American cities.
American melting
Here is a video of a woman 35 years ago.
pot. We do not want to melt into American society and disappear. We want to go into American society with Islamic ideals and revamp their thinking. We want to revamp them. We want to turn them into Muslim individuals. We shouldn't have feelings of distaste for them or intolerance because they're potential Muslim. Education is one of the most important areas.
Damn, she sounds almost like every member of every religious community. That's crazy. It's like the way Christians have talked about every community they've ever come into.
That Muslims have to address. And while our objective, our final objective, is not just to become part of the system that we experience now and that we see, our objective, our final objective, is to create our own Islamic systems, and not only create Islamic systems for Muslims, but to look at all the other people who are sharing this country with us as potential Muslims. And in that long-range process of making America Muslim, all of America Muslim.
Terrifying stuff. If that woman is still alive, I hope I never encounter her on the street. She might convert me.
Yeah. So it's not a secret.
It's not a secret. And the most important data point is that has this improved
Could they really not find a more recent video? Like, you could probably find a video on TikTok from within the past 2 weeks of, like, Muslim convert 21-year-old who lives in Chicago, who's white, who like, is enthusiastically talking about jihading America. So I don't know. I feel like you could have come up with something a lot more contemporary.
Are we more united? Are we talking about things of prosperity and abundance and unity? Has this been about like a return to American values? Or does this feel kind of like an insurgency campaign that we have voluntarily invited into our society? And again, so people are going to attack me. My primary care doctor is Muslim. I've endorsed him for running for office, all that stuff.
Why do you keep doing this, dude? What the hell? What the f is the point of being racist if you have to qualify all your racism with like, but I have black friends? Jesus fucking Christ. You can't, listen, you can build out a wide Republican base that seeks to a sort of like weaponize civic nationalism and gain a mandate that runs across racial lines, or you can double down on the white nationalism. You can't do both. Everything you do in one direction is a compromise in the other. You can't have both, okay?
But when we look at our immigration policy,
he's trying not to offend Andrew Tate and Sneeko.
That continues to bring people in that don't assimilate, and they don't. I've said this before, and it drives people nuts, and I don't care. Islam is not compatible with Western civilization. Fundamentally, Islam is at war with freedom of speech, with freedom of worship, with freedom of assembly, freedom of religion, and separation of mosque and state. They don't.
But you don't want any of those things. You're also at odds with every single one of those things. Like very materially right now, faster than any presidential administration in American history, the guy you support is undoing all of those things. It's not exactly a novel point from me, but like the Islamists and Christian evangelicals are politically identical, more or less. It's just aesthetic differences.
Don't believe in a separation of mosque and state. That's why so many of them are running for office, is that at its core, Islam is about power. The greatest man ever.
Like literally, there are evangelists in the White House right now who are praising God. They were speaking tongues outside the White House a couple days ago. Like, if he was honest, he would just say it's because he hates brown people. And I know that sounds like me trying to reduce his position, but it is what his position is. I'm not really reducing it. That's the position that he has. You know, it's just lame.
Ever to live in the telling of Islam is a desert warlord. It's not a criticism, it's just a fact. And so as we're looking at this as Westerners, we should just, Jessica Tarlov calls me an Islamophobe. And my response was like,
out comes the poisonous crop. The groundwork as they're sent the word MK.
All right, I got bored at the end there, sorry. A lot of dislikes here too. And a lot of the people in the replies are very, very clearly not Megyn Kelly fans. I wonder if there are a lot of people just brigading anything Mamdani related on media, you know, just like taking a look at everything and replying, which is good, you know. I'm glad it's getting some attention. I still think the right has like no idea how to respond to Mamdani, because genuinely him being Muslim is not going to be enough. That's not enough of an angle against him. It's just not. Asmongold endorsed Mamdani? That seems unlikely to me. New York City situation. Man, whenever I feel bad about clickbait titles, I need to remember how low the bar is. New York is about to become Gotham City, but without Batman. That shit goes hard during recess.